welcome to Level Yourself Up, where it's not about perfection but progress. I'm your host, John Budd, and I want to welcome you to episode 101. You know, as we get into this episode is going to be a little different than some of the other episodes. As we do improve ourselves, leveling ourselves up, we got to watch out for scams and stuff. It seems like since the first of the year, I've seen an increase in a lot of email scams, internet scams. So I want to just bring your awareness about these different types of scams, things to look for. I hope to cover different types of scams just to make you aware. And then I'll give you some tips on ways to keep your password safe and other tips and useful tricks. So you might ask, what is spam? And you could just say it's unsolicited email or a message that's trying to trick you into providing personal information or money. These messages can come in different forms of emails, text messages, even phone calls in person. They can be difficult to spot, and they really look legitimate, and they're designed to scam you out of personal information or money. Think about in the old days when we all just got normal mail before the internet. You get a piece of mail, and you kind of knew it was junk mail, just because it wasn't a bill, it wasn't your bank, or anything like that. Now they've gotten fairly sophisticated. That's a word I have a hard time saying, but where they can look like the real bank. So let's say you bank at Chase Bank or First National or whatever different banks there are. They can look very much like their websites, and they can spoof the email to make it look like it's coming from their server. One of the things that I tell people, and even myself, let's say, for example, I do have an Amazon account. Let's say I get an email that says $600 has been charged to your Amazon account. Click here or call this number if you believe, it's fake or something like that, or not correct. So that whole scam is just to get you to call. And so the best thing to do is don't click on that link in that email, but then go to the website, type in www.amazon.com, log in. That way, and something should show up in your account if they see that. Most of the Amazon things I get nowadays are all scams, because Amazon will let you know, your bank will let you know when you log in, or lock out your account. Either way, make you give them a call. So don't trust emails that tell you to call your bank with that phone number. You go call your bank with the number that you know they have. So look that number up on their website, or if it's a local bank, go in and see them, because they do try to get you to call that number. There's tons of scammers on YouTube that there's guys that's fighting these scammers just to waste their time or to even get money back from people. But I just want to tell you, don't respond to an email with a click here or call this number. What I want you to do is pick up your phone and call them with the number that you know that's either in the phone book that you personally looked up, or you went to your bank's website and got the number, or you went to their physical building. It's too bad we have to do it this way, but that's kind of something you got to be aware of. And it's not just banks, it's everything. So so then what else might I tell you about scams? One of the common types of scam is called phishing. I'm not going to get too caught up in the details, but there's different types of phishing. This is when scammers pose at legitimate organizations, such as, like I was talking about, your banks or the government. They're trying to get personal information, or they try to send you an email. They might say, hey, I'll send you this email. Never let them provide you with a website or something like that to go to. And it could even look like it's a text message and send you a link on our phones. So be real careful about that. They might even pose as wanting to wire money to them or give them credit card information, or that you won a prize and you still have to pay a fee to claim their winnings. Don't fall for that. Another thing they can do with your personal information is try to steal your identity or your money. And once you've gone down that road, it's awful hard to get it back. So, just want to reiterate here, don't be suspicious of all unsolicited messages. So like if I go to a website, what is an unsolicited message? Just say I go to, I'm losing a blank. We'll just go with Amazon. Say I reset my password. They want to authenticate this as me. They may, by me doing that, then send me a button to verify. And then in my email shows up that that's Amazon. That is probably a legit one because you just walked through the process with them and just got it. So then you could send that information, click on that email to verify your email. That's okay. But when it's unsolicited, that means when you did not ask for it, it's out of the blue. Be wary of phone calls too. They can often give you links to fake websites. I kind of covered all that, but it's really bad stuff that there's more and more of this going on. If you've been scammed, first thing you should do is contact your bank or your credit card and let them know the information's been compromised. You might want to report them to the FTC to report the scam and file a complaint, or maybe even the FBI. I think there's some other call centers, but first of all, call your bank. Protect your bank as well. So think about that as two when you're just setting up your passwords for your bank. Do not use the same passwords you would use for your Netflix account. I would tell you to even use a different email account and only use that one email account for bank accounts or very personal information. Then more like your Netflix accounts and some, second or third tier things get a different email. That's kind of the practice I engage in that I never give out that very personal email address. There's a couple things I can think of where I forgot to do that, but for the most part, I try to use a different email address. And also, as I'm trying to think about, I took some notes and I wrote them down here in their different orders here. But think about how the email looks. It could be very generic, but it could have your name in there. So just kind of look how they're using dear friend or dear valued customer instead of your name. Sometimes there'll be spelling and grammar errors. Be careful of emails that ask for passwords or social security numbers. And think about the ones that make it limited time offer or act now. I am very, I don't believe in being pressured. So there's a few people that employ these when they're trying to sell us stuff in marketing. And I understand that philosophy behind that. But for me, pressured sales don't make me want to go buy it. It makes me want to walk away. Even like a car salesman, don't buy anything where you feel pressured to do it. I've heard, a good example is a car salesman. Well, this car could be sold. Well, I always look at it, then it wasn't meant to be. That can be hard to take when you get emotionally involved and want that vehicle or car. And it's no different than being pressured to buy other things. So there is a difference between malware and spam, but just know that with malware that people can, through attachments and links, get you to install a virus and infect your computer with a virus or ransomware or a keylogger. So a virus, I think we all know what that does. It just collects things or does things to slow down your computer or tear it up. Ransomware will encrypt your data, and then they try to blackmail you to have it back. So that's the importance of having a good backup. And then there's a keylogger, and basically that just logs your keys. So then if you type in chase.com and then type in your password, they got your username and passwords. So be wary of what you click onto. There's a lot of websites that this is kind of going to be hard to do over an audio podcast, but there are some websites that when you go to download a file, because we do download things, that they, in normally a blue box, I think my web browser is blue, it says download, they'll trick you into downloading stuff. So be careful what you're downloading, and if you don't know, then wait. Be careful of any pop-ups on your computer that tells you to upgrade your antivirus. I've seen people install spyware that way. Think about how people will physically call you to get your information as well. Maybe take their name, and if you take their phone number, I would be hesitant to call that personal number back, but call their bank or wherever you're dealing with. Today we're talking about banks, obviously, but say you're trying to deal with somebody with Amazon, you might try to, I don't know if Amazon's a good answer. I think it's hard to get their phone number, but you can at least reach out to customer service at Amazon and say, so-and-so sent me this email and ask for some legit. They should respond to you with a customer service through email, I would think. So back to passwords. Think about using a different unique password for each account. A strong password should be at least 12 characters with a mixture of uppercase, lowercase, a number, and a special character. Some websites don't allow you to use special characters. Avoid using equally guessed things like your birthday, your name, or common words maybe don't use phone numbers. The other one that people use a lot. So I've seen this on like Facebook. They do these, your favorite animal type of thing. Then people have their favorite animal as a type of their password. If you can enable two-factor authentication, do that wherever possible. So that's what two-factor authentication is. There's a couple different modes, but one of them is, I use a couple different ones, but basically there's a revolving password. So even if I gave you you got my email address and my password, or username and password. When you go to log in, you're going to have to type in another password, and that is normally rotating every 60 seconds. So you would have to have that code as well. There's other generators. I know Duo, you can actually click a button to send, and so you got to open up the app and then approve it. I've seen that. Couple different websites that somebody's trying to log in your website. Do you want to approve? And it'll be sent a text message. So, second factor authentication could be done through a text message or a phone call. If you use a password manager, there's pros and cons to that. I would tell you that if for your banks and some very private stuff, I would not put in that password manager because a third party is managing it. There's a couple out there that are encrypted, so they couldn't get the data. If you were in the Apple environment, then I've been told through some security people that that's pretty secure. You can take that for what it's worth. There's a whole thing in the security industry is trust no one. So at some point, you got to think about you're in charge of your own passwords, whether you keep them in a book. Think about how that gets updated. If you carry them in your purse and your purse gets stolen, then all that's opened. So you might want to figure out how to carry just a couple in your purse or wallet. I can see that there's some other ways to get around that just be creative and think about where you want to store that information. One thing when we get on Wi-Fi is that public Wi-Fi networks, that can be often intercepted and not secure. So be careful, like going to McDonald's and getting on their free Wi-Fi, or Walmart getting on their free Wi-Fi. You might think yourself saving yourself some data, but it would be very easy for somebody like me to trick you into getting on my Wi-Fi where I can log all your passwords and all the traffic coming across and be a clue how to do some stuff. I'm not a true hacker, but I look at all these. I follow some security people, and I know some people that know higher levels of computer skills than I have, and there are tools to watch the internet network traffic. That's why if you are going to use those, you'd want to use a VPN to encrypt your data. That just protects you. There's different types of VPN. Some are free, some are paid. Just kind of depends on the purpose. And I would say make sure you keep your computer and your phone updated. Be careful about installing just a bunch of random games on your phone, because there's a lot of people that give them access to things that I think they're not aware of. Be careful sharing your passwords for people. You don't know where they write stuff down at. What's the other? Oh, one of the things that we just had happen is I know somebody that had their Social Security number emailed to them unsecurely. I think there's some small businesses out there that aren't familiar with how important they are at. They're responsible to keep your data protected. But when they send your Social Security number out in the clear, that's very dangerous for you and them. There are ways to get around that. They should have a website dedicated that's secure that you log into to get it, and then you download it. That's totally different than them sending it to you in an email. Be careful if you send, like for me, some of the computer stuff I do, their clients will send me their username and passwords. Don't send that through an email or through a text. Normally what I do is have them split it up. Maybe they send me one through a text, one through an email, or we get on the phone. That's probably the best way to get on the phone, and I just write it down if that's possible. So just think about that. Be aware of what level that is. Like if you're helping somebody with their bank, I would want to be in person with them versus maybe I'm updating the website. That's not near as critical. So just evaluate what your risk level is. What's your exposure level on giving this data out? And then while we're talking about computers, that's all I'm going to say about spams and passwords, and just kind of think about security. I see this ramping up a little bit. So I want to switch gears a little bit and just kind of clear up some words that we use interchangeably that are kind of the same, but they're not, that maybe I can help while we're on this topic of we say we're going to upload it to the cloud or to the network. So let's talk about the difference between the cloud versus the internet. The cloud refers to like a network of servers that are connected to the internet and used to store or manage or process data. It allows us to access their data and applications from anywhere in the world using the device that has an internet access. The cloud is essentially a way of storing and accessing data and programs over the internet rather than on your own hard drive. So like anytime you use the Google G Drive or Microsoft has OneDrive, there is, what's the other one? Dropbox. There is, I know there's tons more, but those are the big ones off the top of my head. Amazon has their own. It is a way to store data in the cloud and have it all serve you. There are ways to attach your home network so then you can be out and about and then be remote accessed back through a VPN into your home network or business. That would be a little higher skill set than the average person has. And there's some benefits to both. I would say that 99% of the people can get by with using Microsoft OneDrive or the Microsoft ecosystem versus the Gmail ecosystem. Those are two robust systems out there, and they all have like their own online documents with Word and Excel. You have Google Sheets, so they have competition there that works well. So I think that's where I'm going to stop. I know we got real heavy and deep in some of this stuff, so if you'd like more details, shoot me an email at john@levelyourselfup. Reach out to me as well, and we can get together if you want to have a one-on-one. If I can help your business in some way, if you would like more details, reach out to me either way. I would like to help you, and if maybe you're thinking of something that's even better, more robust, let me know as well. The thought of this was just hopefully to be educational, to get people to think about protecting their data and not getting scammed. So that's all I have for this week. God bless everybody, and I'll be back in a couple weeks with another podcast. Thank you for listening. God bless.